All right, guys, I am fired up because we've got Gonzalo de la Guardia here, my good friend that I've known for almost 17 years. Gonzalo is a terrific attorney and an expert on crypto monedas. So that is cryptocurrency, and that's what I want to talk about today. Gonzalo, thank you for coming in, my man.
Oh, my pleasure. This is going to be fun.
It will be fun. So yeah, I think it'll be good to give a little bit of introduction about you. We first met in 2007, and that was back when you guys were called Panama Relocation Attorneys.
Correct.
Yeah, you've been an attorney for how long?
I've been practicing law since 2002, so it's been a while. And our law firm, Denfab Law, has been in business for actually this year 20 years. So it's been a blast starting the company, and here we are after all these years. Still have an excellent relationship with you and your company, and always interesting to meet up and chat about interesting things that are going on in the market. So.
Thanks, brother. No, yeah, guys, Denfab is amazing. We send a lot of business to them because they treat our clients well. So today I wanted to pick your brain because you are an expert on crypto and sort of why Panama is where we're at right now. I think it's probably relevant, Gonzalo, to let the people know that you are an early adopter. You were talking crypto and Bitcoin before pretty much anybody down here was really into it. So, you know, maybe I think a good place to start would be kind of why crypto is interesting in Panama right now from maybe a legal perspective.
So, first of all, I wanted to mention, because I think it's interesting, I got into Bitcoin specifically through a mutual friend that you introduced me to.
What?
So I want to give a shout out to Aldo.
Oh, Altinori, yeah.
We were doing a lot of, back then we were doing a lot of property tax work.
Okay.
And you put me in contact with him. And it was back in 2017. So the first time we met, we hit it off, and he was the first person to actually explain Bitcoin to me in a way that made sense, and ever since I've been pretty much obsessed with the subject. So I got involved in this in around 2017. Like many people, I started learning. There's a lot of stuff to learn about this, and I think it's interesting for this conversation to give a little bit of context on Panama, as we're discussing real estate transactions in crypto in Panama.
Yep.
How basically the Panamanian monetary system works, because I think there's interesting context there. So Panama gains independence from Colombia in 1903. Yep. This was shortly after the 1,000-Year War, which was at the end of the 1800s, which was basically a civil war in Colombia. Besides the human tragedy, we know that these events always have an economic tragedy. So what happened? The Colombian government printed a bunch of pesos to kill people and kill themselves, and etc. So when Panama becomes independent, this was very fresh in the minds of the founding fathers of Panama, if you want to call them that.
Yep.
So, interestingly enough, when Panama's constitution was drafted, it basically stated that Panama would have no forceful paper legal tender. And this has been something that has remained in the Panamanian constitution in every iteration, because they've changed it several times. So basically what ended up happening is in 1904, Panama signs a treaty with the US, basically adopting the US dollar as the, let's say, the money that the Panamanian government would use and its unit of account.
Okay.
So basically taxes are paid in dollars, property valuations are in dollars, so that is important to keep in consideration, because transactions, even though can be paid in different ways, the unit of account is the dollar.
Is the dollar
per se? Yeah.
Okay, got it. So all of that, having said that, kind of what Panama's laws allow and don't allow. Why do you think that Panama has really adopted cryptocurrency in a way that very few governments have? And what are you seeing with that?
So you would think, after what I just mentioned, that Panama would be an ideal jurisdiction for crypto adoption. But it has not played out that way in practice. And the reason is mostly because of the financial system, which the banking system in Panama is a very respected banking system. The banks in Panama, let's say, have been very responsible. Like, there hasn't been a bank failure in Panama in decades, and Panama has no central bank, so there's no government bailouts for these banks, so they have to act, let's say, much more so in a competitive free market environment than, let's say, the US banking system.
Okay.
So, but again, Panama depends on the US rails for dollars. So banks in Panama have correspondent banks. Those banks dictate a lot of the policies, and for a long time these policies have been: do not stay away from crypto, stay away from crypto, which has made let's say the adoption in Panama for crypto thorny or complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, I feel like I'm hearing about it so much more. Like, I know, for example, Tower Bank has just opened up sort of I'm ignorant on this, and that's why I like having Gonzalo on here. We've participated in some crypto real estate transactions, and we're going to get into sort of what those look like here in a second. But Tower Bank, so what are you seeing them doing, and why do you think they were able to do it, and how are they doing so far?
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, when you are a smaller organization, you have more reasons to take risks. So sure. Tower Bank is a fairly small bank, and they they got involved in providing services to clients that have crypto, that need to swap fiat for crypto, etc.
100% Bitcoin, or are they also doing like other, like Ethereum or whatever?
I think probably, I'm not sure because I don't have an account with them, but I think they probably stick to more either Bitcoin or USDT, USDC, because those are like very, since they don't fluctuate, it's easier to deal with for transactions in general, or if we want to do swaps or whatever.
Got it.
So and also it's very easy for someone to go on an exchange and change Bitcoin to USDT or USDC and send it to a wallet. So I think they probably stick to those. And then now the Municipality of Panama,
this is huge, in the last couple of weeks.
Yes, announced that they would be receiving payments in crypto. But what actually ends up happening is that they are not receiving crypto per se. So basically what they've done is they've made an allegiance with Tower Bank and their trust company. So the bank actually receives the crypto, swaps it to fiat, and deposits it into the account of the municipality. So the municipality receives dollars.
Is that kind of like honestly kind of like a marketing campaign? Because if I was a taxpayer and I wanted to use my Bitcoin, I could just contact any exchange and be like, okay, here's 10 Bitcoins, convert it and pay the government, right?
Yes and no. So, okay, so if you go to the municipality and you use your credit card to pay,
right,
what actually ends up happening? So the client uses credit card,
sure,
and let's say the point of sale provider for the municipality is
Banesco.
Sure. Right. So Banesco processes the payment, charges a fee,
yep,
which is like 2% or 2.5% plus sales tax, and then deposits the dollars into the account of the municipality minus their fees.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, it's exactly the same thing.
Okay.
Just that instead of credit card fees, Tower Bank is charging some sort of fee for processing the payment.
So they got the monopoly on it.
So the municipality loses nothing at the end of the day. they probably get a better fee from Tower Bank than from the credit card. Now, the municipality is not the most interesting institution for this because, let's say, most people in Panama or foreigners that have some sort of ties to Panama, let's say a foreigner has to pay their property tax, for example.
Right.
They may have crypto and they may want to use it to pay their property tax. So actually, I think it would be much more interesting for the DGI to adopt this because the municipality, the clients of the municipality, or let's say the taxpayers of the municipality are usually companies, not persons.
Okay.
So I think it would be very interesting for example, the DGI to adopt this because they lose nothing and they basically open up liquidity for people who have crypto that don't have to change crypto to fiat to pay for, because what I understand is that Tower Bank, for example, charges 1 or 2% to do a swap for fiat from crypto. So you do lose something there if you are, let's say, you want to use your crypto for this.
Right.
So
1-to-1. Yeah. Okay.
So, and the other interesting thing was that Mayer Mizrachi, who is the mayor of Panama City, spoke at the Bitcoin conference, I think last week in Las Vegas. And he was talking about this, what he's doing with the municipality, but he also said that a government bank, which is a Caja Ahorros, will soon be getting into the market of opening accounts in Bitcoin. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know how far along that is, but it's certainly interesting that other players in the financial market are looking at this more closely, and I think this has a lot to do with the U.S. and since the change of president, which I think last administration was very purposely aggressive against crypto, and they basically tried to regulate it out of the financial system. It didn't work, and now this administration is much more friendly, and you can see what's happening in the U.S. Banks are getting into services related to crypto, which will eventually trickle down to Panama because these same banks are the correspondent banks to the Panamanian institutions. So as regulations become more friendly and flexibilized, I think there's going to be more financial services for people who have these assets, and I think it's smart because you want that liquidity to permeate in the economy.
Exactly.
It's just
unlock it.
It's
get more transactions,
exactly.
Get more movement.
Get money moving. That's what you want.
For sure. Yeah. So, okay. And, from the real estate perspective, I know there are some developers that are taking crypto now. I know you've participated in a few crypto transactions where, maybe you can kind of explain why it was different than a typical transaction in terms of maybe flow of money, registering of the change of deed or title, and just sort of any nuances that are worth mentioning.
Yeah, I think very general introduction to real estate transactions in Panama is usually you sign a contract where there's a 10% down payment, and then you go to the second part, which is the transfer of title through a public deed.
Right.
So usually, or in the market,
and corresponding payment.
Yeah. So in the market, there's basically two ways to guarantee the final payment. Right. One is through a bank letter of payment, a guarantee letter of payment from the bank, or the buyer
leaves a check at the notary.
Leaves a check that's custodied at the notary, and these payments are executed when the transfer of title is complete. Right. So there's a guarantee, and the seller can sign the deed of sale, and they know that they will get their payment as soon as the transaction is complete.
Totally, and a neutral third party in the case of either a bank or the notary.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think the difficulty with crypto transactions today in Panama, or what the reason they haven't gone mainstream is, I think we don't have good financial services for that second part of the transaction. So today, if you want to do a transaction in crypto, you're probably going to need both parties, one that has crypto and one that wants to receive it in crypto. Sure. And even then, you're going to have some issues because how do you guarantee the final payment? So
what comes first, the title transfer or the payment?
Of course,
chicken or the egg?
Yeah. So, like I've been in different transactions where they structure it differently. Like, for example, in some transactions they pay more upfront and then they leave a little bit at the end for after the title transfer. Or, for example, the lawyer or a third party holds a part of the payment to be transferred upon a confirmation of the transfer of title. So there's a couple ways to do it, but it needs to have some sort of trusted intermediary, which is not...
Is there not a market for, I guess, products or services that sort of engages delivery upon receipt of payment? Like, you buy a widget and I guess we would have to tie into the public registry somehow to, the easiest I think would be Tower Bank simply issues the irrevocable letter of payment. Hey, we just got your Bitcoin. We will pay the seller in Bitcoin or cash. But
before I get into that, to finish the previous point.
Sure, yeah.
Then there's additional complications. For example, what happens if the seller, the property has a mortgage on it? Then even if they want the crypto directly, then how do you cancel the mortgage? They have to change the crypto to dollars. So there's these little issues,
nuances,
which will be resolved with what you are commenting. If we had better financial services around here, these transactions could be more streamlined. So, for example, let's say tomorrow, either Tower Bank or Caja or whomever. Imagine that if you could send, let's say you need a irrevocable letter for $300,000, you send $300,000 to USDT to the wallet at Caja Ahorros. They had done KYC on you. They charge you X for issuing the bank letter of payment.
Sure.
They hold the USDT and then they make the payment when the property is titled.
Right.
I think that
in either fiat or USDT.
Of course, yeah, it could be either or. But at the end of the day, this transaction has minimal risk for the bank because they're holding the asset. They probably keep the asset a couple months during the transaction, and then they're
holding the cash.
Yeah, they charge fees. I think it's a no-brainer. I think these services will come hopefully sooner rather than later, and I think that will open up again liquidity and make the market more dynamic because you're opening transactions for a larger volume of people, and we as a firm, every day we have more clients that have assets or considerable assets in crypto, and always that they need to do transactions in Panama. They need to change to fiat. Sometimes we can help them with that part. Sometimes it's the amounts are high, so it can be a little complicated, and it's just creates friction in transactions.
In the transaction.
What you don't want. Right?
Exactly. What about escrow agencies? Are there no escrow agencies that kind of act as a fiduciary that, I know we use escrow companies, but anybody that you know of doing crypto right now?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The transactions escrow companies.
Yeah, in the transactions I've been involved with, when we need to, let's say, custody a part of the payment.
Right.
Usually it's one of the two lawyers for one of the parties.
Okay.
So
DenFab's not doing that yet? You haven't convinced the partners for the Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's something that we can definitely look into. I think there's a bunch of other interesting things here because I think custody in general, people will need to reconsider how they custody their assets in crypto. It's very different than, we used to just have a bank account and leave it there, but now you have private keys and maybe you don't want to custody all the private keys. Maybe you want part of the, or you do a multi-sig thing and then you want your lawyer to have one key. Not complete control, but
still access if you need it,
or part
recovery,
or part of the access. Not the complete access.
Oh, got it. And
so
conjunction with
people are really going to have to think long and hard about how they want to custody these assets because they're basically they are completely possession rights. Meaning that the person who has the private key has control of it. it's not really a property right.
Yeah.
The system, the blockchain doesn't care if it's Kent or Gonzalo who had the private key. If the
you got the code, money's yours.
If you got the code and you comply with the network rules, that payment will be processed, that transfer will be processed. So that's like another rabbit hole, which is not exactly related to real estate matters. But yeah, I think these inevitably we will have more services, and we will have different types of services for different types of setups and different types of customer needs.
Love it. Yeah, no, well that's awesome, Gonzalo. I think I think we did a good job kind of summing up what's going on with the crypto world. Guys, Gonzalo knows 100 times more than I do about this stuff. Hopefully you found this to be entertaining and enlightening. We'll include his information below, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, and I think we should do another part once more news comes out about services that may be relevant to this and how that's going to impact the market.
Agreed.
It would be fun to do another one. This is great.
For sure. No, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you for the invite, man.
Awesome.
Great to see you.
All right, awesome. Well, guys, cheers.